Oh, Nebulous Tower's that one? What's this one then? Um, right, okay, that's fucking weird. But anyway, Leto could quite easily have fixed his game, but he just didn't seem to want to. And whenever he did go back and fix his game, he just put like random shit in it that just either didn't matter or just actually damaged the game, but he had to have it in there because I don't know, he had a weird obsession with sticking it to his critics who frankly hardly exist. So this is Dawn Sand. It looks quite different, admittedly. I'm a dick. Let's see if my secret tunnel's here. No. It's been replaced by like a button that does that. Nice try, jackass. But yeah, I almost feel for, not Leto, but I feel like the man he started off as. Because when you look at his feedback on like some of the very earlier stuff, I think he legitimately cared about his project, but when you see him towards the end, he literally doesn't give a shit. He actually puts a little patch in where he tells people who didn't like aspects of his game to eat shit. Which, you know, that is just really pathetic. And it's not only pathetic, but it's damaging your, like, apparent magnum opus. Which I'm not sure if it ever would be a brilliant experience for anyone to enjoy. But what I do know is that nobody's going to enjoy it now, because you've made it your business to try and make it as fucking unenjoyable as possible for everyone, out of spite. I quite frankly find that pathetic. As someone who has done creative works for years, admittedly I've not handled every critical response ever perfectly, but I've always tried at least, and it's just really sad to see someone who should know better clearly not. So as far as the whole Leto shit goes, I think thankfully Leto's just given up on anything to do with Leto. I think he's just basically either given up on that whole thing entirely, or he's opening up Kickstarters elsewhere on the internet. I doubt he'll ever see my video, which I'm glad of, because quite honestly, Leto is not the kind of person you really want to be attracting the attention of. But I guess we'll see. Didn't stop me from posting it on the fucking Steam storefront though. I often try to do that when I'm reviewing a Steam game, just so prospective customers can see it. It's also not a bad way of getting views. But no, I do admittedly like to share the knowledge of it. Tilly has purple hair in this one, and she does a weird dance thing when you wiggle the analog stick on the slider. So that's different. So at this point in time, I don't know when this will be uploaded, if it ever will be. Probably will be. I've done all the PS2 ones. At least I've rendered them into videos. I've not uploaded them all yet. But at this point in time, I'm still in the process of editing together Drusilla's Dreams, and at this point, I've done everything I want to do for the video, but I still want to add more. I can't tell at this point because I've not fully edited it, but I think it's probably going to be a bit of a long one. Sorry, quite the opposite, a bit of a short one. Because I don't really review the products on the same level as I'm Caligula, because I just personally found it to be not worth it. I just found the game to be insufferable to play. There we go. Dawn Sound. Oh, not 1,000 Waterfalls, anything but no. But, yeah, I just found it to be a bit sad that I got to the end of this sort of saga and I was like, you know, maybe Leto does care about his games and maybe he's just misguided in how much he did so. But then when you get to Drusilla's Dreams, you see what he is. I did find some interesting stuff talking about him being a Kickstarter scammer, amongst other things. That's an aspect that I don't really want to explore because I feel like I don't have that much evidence on it, and I don't want to cross any lines as far as that goes. But I mean, I do have some evidence on it, but admittedly, it's like kind of difficult for me to confidently hold up and say, yes, this is fact, when in truth I'm not sure. So I'm just going to sort of leave that. I feel like I have enough without divulging into that. I think I mentioned it briefly because, you know, there are a lot of stories about how he basically advertised one of his Kickstarters as one thing and then it turned into another just before the goal was reached. It's that sort of shit, really. But I feel like it's not really even that important anyway because Leto doesn't seem to be doing Kickstarters anymore. I don't think he's even doing anything video game related anymore. So I only want to talk about his inability to handle criticism because I feel like it pertains to the review, because quite frankly Drusilla's Dreams is dragged down by it. The pathetic jab at his critics basically ruins one of the endings because he's so desperate to go, fuck you critics, that he doesn't really, you know, consider the possibility that not everyone cares about his stupid little spat with his critics. Which, you know, if he'd grown at all, he probably would have removed that. But no, he's incapable of growth, so that's just stayed where it is. Also, I don't know how long I'd personally say that a game should be supported for. I personally reckon it should be about 5 years that you should support a game, at least be patching it and stuff. Especially if you're selling it for money. If you're not selling it for money, then sure. I'm sick of that shit. Sorry, my hard drive keeps disconnecting itself and then reconnecting, my external hard drive, which is really annoying. But yeah, kind of reminds me of Aliens Colonial Marines when they found a problem with the AI that was easily fixable, but they didn't bother fixing it in the real version. Admittedly, after 5 years, I don't think there's much point in fixing your old games. I mean, props to anyone who does. I'd prefer it if they did, but I could kind of understand if you're making new projects, not wanting to go back and comb over your old ones from 5 to 10 years ago. I mean, this game, for example, is very playable now. and they didn't fix it, so it's very playable now, and it's not had any patches or fixes in nearly 20 years, so you son of a bitch. So there's not much point in staying up here, because like, it's not like you can glide across to this platform here. I need a piss. Just going to change character so that I don't forget. Oh, for fuck's sake. There we go. So I think I brought up that Andrew said something about wanting to sue me, which I still find hilarious, but he kind of elaborated on it. He initially said something about damages, so I probed him a bit when I got hold of him on Discord recently. And he tells me that basically... Wait, is this the level we've just done? Yeah, this is the level we've just done. Sorry. I won't say anything else until we get the actual level up. Because, So, I recently flagged down Andrew on Discord, Andrew Velasco. If you want to know who he is, I've got a video on him. And I basically probed him about his threat of suing me for damages and shit, because of the videos and a couple of other things. And I was really curious as to what the fuck he was even planning on doing with that. So I just asked him, you know, like, Andrew, what do you what are you going to sue me for? And he's like, oh, well, you lied about my age and told people that I'm 24 when I'm actually whatever age he actually is. He says he's 16. I don't even know if I believe that at this point. But Andrew kind of fails to understand that he's basically saying that we've spread misinformation about him. We might have, but there's one very important caveat, Andrew. Don't know if he listens to half the things I say. But there's one important caveat, and that is that the information that we spread about you came from you. You lied about your own age. And normally, when you ask someone for their age, and they give you an answer, no matter who that person is, really, you're going to assume that you can trust that person's answer when they are talking about their own age. If you make up lies about yourself, and other people believe those lies, that's on you, not them. Obviously, that's why I don't think... I mean, Andrew's all full of bullshit anyway. He's not going to sue anybody. He can't afford it. And even if he could afford it, it'd get laughed out of court. And even if it somehow made it to court, I could probably, like, financially destroy him. I think I have more money than his whole family, so yeah, I could potentially destroy him. Which is funny, I'm not even particularly wealthy or anything, but I'm pretty sure that I could. It would kick my finances in the balls, don't get me wrong, but in terms of surviving that, I'd probably survive, the case would get dismissed, and Andrew's whole family would be destroyed. So, if I were you, Andrew, I wouldn't go there. I think that's a terrible idea for everyone involved. And you know what? I'm mostly saying this because your dad and your mum, I think he's your stepdad, isn't he, actually? But regardless of who he is, that's even worse, to be honest, if he's your stepdad. Your stepdad and your mum and your sisters and your brothers and all that and your dog are all going to be poorer because you decided to pull that shit with me. And I'm not going to feel bad about it because you did it to yourself, so don't. Okay? Also, if I get the chance to make it, like, the result of it, the worst thing it could possibly be, if I can completely ruin you, I will. Because I have warned you that that can happen, and if you go ahead with it as an idea, I don't think you will. I personally don't think you have the balls, nor do I think you're stupid enough to think it's a good idea. So, you're at least smarter than Robert Romine at the moment. But, I'll give you this fair warning. You won't win that. It's just a lawsuit you are not going to win. No lawyer is even probably going to back you unless they have a no claims, no win, no fee thing going on. In which case it doesn't matter to them. Nobody's going to back that in court. No lawyer will. You probably can't even afford a lawyer, so you're probably going to have to represent yourself or get Stetson Hardwick to represent you. Stetson Hardwick is a very, very mentally challenged man who resembles a fish, and he's a very interesting character. I'd recommend anyone look him up if you want to laugh, because Stetson Hardwick is probably the stupidest person I've ever seen. Andrew kind of likes Stetson, I don't know why, but he uses a lot of his catchphrases in response to pretty much everything anyone says to him. And, like, get an education, and he usually spells it wrong as well. But, yeah, unless you get Stetson Hardwick to represent you, which will probably be worse than if you represented yourself, because if he writes legal documentation, like, he writes his thesis, which I have a copy of, by the way. It's really fucking funny. Just on its own, even if you know nothing about theses or any of that. Tell me that's not the plural of a thesis. Theses. You know what it is now. I've declared it feces. Even if you're not very familiar with thesis publishing, because I'm not. I'm not an academic person in the slightest. I'm thick as pig shit. But even I can tell that it's just bollocks just by looking at... Oh god, Neverless Tower is very different. Even I can tell it's bollocks just by looking at it. But I also find it really funny because someone basically explained, who goes to college in America, about why it's not a real thesis and why it doesn't work. The font is like Arial, and he also uses coloured text for some fucking reason. And another thing that's really funny is he basically has multiple pages, which you're not supposed to do ever on a thesis, but he also has chapters in his thesis, which again is a major no-no. You have one page concisely explaining your complex idea, and that is what a thesis is, by definition. And Stetson's like, oh, you're coming to the 21st century, things have changed. No, they haven't, Stetson. You just want them to change to accommodate for your idiocy. And this is who Andrew looks up to, by the way. This is who Andrew thinks is a great guy. a moron who can't even fathom how a fucking thesis works when he tries to write one. Which, to be fair, there are a lot of things I didn't know about writing theses. Theses still sounds wrong to me. There's a lot of things that I didn't know when writing a thesis or anything like that, which is why I don't do it. And I'm sure it would be the same with his legal documentation as well. I'd love to see a legal documentation filed by Stetson Hardwick. That would be some funny shit. I just love for him to do it, just for comedy value, really. In fact, I'd also love to see an actual college professor in America grade Stetson's stupid fucking thesis paper, because quite honestly, it's one of the funniest fucking things I've personally ever seen. It's not even on par with the answers that I used to give in my college days. Bear in mind, I live in Britain, where colleges are basically like what Americans think of as high school. But, yeah, it wouldn't even be acceptable for that, because nobody could take it fucking seriously. I fell for my own trap, that's how thick I am. I'm like going to be making thesis with a fucking purple heading on it, because I'm a fucking clown. But anyway, Andrew is so thick as pig shit that he basically looks up to Stetson as a intellectual giant, which I personally find hilarious. And I would find it funny if those two teamed up. Like, if he represented him as his lawyer, that would be so fucking funny. If it wasn't so costly, I would actually encourage it, but I know it's going to destroy everyone involved financially. Up to and including me, but mostly you and Stetson, because I will fucking destroy anyone who tries that shit with me. I know that the likes of like Jim Sterling and that have the "oh, I'm showing mercy this time, but next time you're fucked" thing going on, but no, not with me. I feel like Romine v Stanton was the warning of spurious lawsuits over YouTube drama, and I feel like if you don't learn your lesson from it for one reason or another, then I'm not going to teach you that lesson. I'm not going to put myself out of pocket to teach you that shit. You should know it. So, as far as I give a shit, anyone who tries that fucking bollocks with me is going to be facing a hard winter. Which Andrew probably is anyway, because he's Andrew. Dark Sewers, the final one there. Pipe Maze is the final. Well, that's just a weird. Zenith Harbour. His treasure. Oh, Canopy seems to be replacing Treasure Ship, which is a bit of a shame because I love Treasure Ship.
Welche Nakiri heb abbrechen.